All right, guys, this is Robert speaking. I'm doing a short API testing video today. Based on a Swagger definition file, we're gonna create some API calls and also gonna do some verifications. So therefore, I'm gonna start my API scan. The API scan is available standalone as well, but of course you can use it directly in Tosca. And I'm gonna scan a Swagger file, and you can get the definition out of here. So you copy this, and then you simply go here in the API scan, paste this URL into here, and then out of this documentation, out of this Swagger file, basically we're gonna create artifacts here in the API scan. You can see we got all the methods and so on, including the authentication request. So I'm just gonna add some credentials here. And when I send this to the service, it returns a token to me. I'm gonna assemble a couple steps in here in a test case. Therefore, I simply create a folder. Just give it a name, test case. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna add some coffee to the list. But therefore, of course, I need to authenticate first. So I copy this, paste this into my folder, Control C, Control V. So that's my authenticate step. So that's the very first step we need. So if you have like OAuth or whatever authentication, you get back a token and you need to buffer it. So you need to buffer it and insert into the next request. So the next thing I'm gonna do is that I will the post method here. So this is used for posting some new coffees onto the system. So I'm gonna paste this operation in here, or this web call, add coffee. So I don't need an ID here. I mean, this is different to each service, but this ID is usually generated on the fly. Say call it Robert's coffee. Tastes not so good. Okay, so when I send it, oh, it tells me unauthorized. Of course, I remember there was something with the authentication. So I'm gonna copy this. And this is a Bira token, so you have to edit in front. But the guys who are familiar with OAuth, where they just add Bira and then the token, and then it should work. Send it, fine. It just returns me the response that it has the IT 18 and just returns me back the name and description of the service. So that's basically it. We added it. And then I just want to check out if it's also available in the list. So I'm going to retrieve the full list of all coffees. I'm going to verify if mine is in there. Check in list. That's how I call it. So of course, I also going to need the token again. We don't need to go in detail on this. I just need to add this token here as well. I'm just gonna check out that, yeah, I have a token here. I also can use my search function. Then I would, would search Robert. Yeah, here it is. And that's fine from a test case creation. And I want to use this also in Tosca now from regression. So therefore, I simply click here on API test case. It automatically imports it into Tosca here. So I have the modules here available and also all the steps. So I have my payload in here. So I want to parameterize probably also my username and password. And I'm using the business parameter creation functionality here. So when I click on add, basically it created a business parameter here. And if I switch to here, I can see, the intention behind this. I want to create an user interface here that also other people who are not so familiar with JSON, XML, and other stuff, they should be able to read this kind of stuff. While they usually have some, probably not with this complexity, but if it's getting more complex, business people just don't want to read it. Once they see some curly brackets, for instance, for them, it's already programming. So we try to create these business parameters for them. So when you click on your test case here, you can see you can fill it in. You can choose the values we've used here, but you can use, of course, any other value. And you can set here, for instance, the data type password. And I'm just using a and then you can parameterize all the business parameters and the blue level here. All right, and then let's go to the authentication response. And therefore, remember we had to buffer the token here. So I click here on buffer. That's why we have two different buttons here. The only differentiation here is that the default value, not the default action mode becomes buffer, and the default value becomes basically the name of the field, which means we create a variable called token, and we're gonna store the value into this variable here. Then we want to add as well some, we're gonna insert this. So I create business parameters for this. It fits to here and fits to here. You can see also it shows you where this business parameter referencing to. And now let's go ahead with the response. And again, the idea is generated from the service. So I want to buffer it, of course, because I want to later check in the list for the ID 18. And then, of course, I use this because I just verify this. Then I check in the list. This is simple HTTP GET request. There's nothing to parameterize besides the authorization. And here I got a list of all kind of coffees. And when I mark everything, and it's a little bit different with lists. When I mark everything and I add this as business parameters, what I get then is don't get like all these items as business parameters, but what I get is one list item. And here in the value range, we can see that we have all the values which have been used basically in the list items. I can also rename here the fields as I want to, because item does not say too much. As I already said, the intention is to create like business readable UIs here. And so let's create the test case here. So I click this button, then it automatically fills in that in the response it should create a variable called token, and it buffers basically the value. And in here we gotta do like the same. Yeah, we got to use Robert's coffee, but we could use any parameter as anything else. But here already we're calling this service by using exactly this token. So that's how you pass over a variable to another thing. This is very heavily required, of course, for microservices now. It could be a custom ID or whatever, or simply a token, which needs to be forwarded or added to the next request. And in here, I get like the response, the same for the buffer. You see when I just click on it, everything is pre-filled. And this has been created just by adding the right business parameter function, like a normal parameter or buffer parameter. And this gets verified. And in this one, of course, I need the authorization. And in here, I just click on this, but I will, you see it offers me this a second time, so it could verify another coffee as well. But in this case, I need to use the ID I got back here from the coffee, because it's generated on runtime, but it's pretty much it. And so when the list comes back, it will look for the ID and then it's gonna verify the rest. So it definitely gonna fail. So maybe I'm just gonna pick Robert's coffee, and I just pick in some wildcard here. So I'm not really interested in the description. I just want to check if the description field is here. That's sufficient for me. So yeah, this should be pretty much it. And let's give it a try. Let's see if it works. All right, guys, I got some results here. Everything looks green. So we did the verification on the list item. We were using ID 21. This was created dynamically, and we did some verification. Everything went fine. And that's it from my side. We created the first API test case, and I'm gonna create a couple more API videos. So if you have some feedback for me, just leave me a comment on the video below. And yeah, that's it from my side. You guys are legends. I hope you enjoyed the video.